Welcome to the funnel. My name is John Shea, and I'm the president of Alignment Group. This is episode 180 of the funnel 20 mistakes sales managers make when hiring sales reps, part 2. Number 11, gut feel. Number 12, fail to check references. 13, fail to use an assessment. Number 14, too few candidates. Number 15, fail to ask the right questions. Number 16, they look for themselves. Number 17, allow interruptions. Number 18, use the tool as a crutch. 19, no onboarding. And 20, fail to understand the need. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about gut feel. I did a whole podcast on gut feel and how you can use it in your process if it's used properly. However, oftentimes I see managers make the mistake of relying on their instinct or their gut feel without a real understanding of what it means. So maybe they made a great impression or they look like somebody you know. Without the context of what it means, it's a danger point. It causes you to hire the wrong people. Maybe they remind you of your best friend or one of your parents, okay? And if that happens and you misuse gut feel, you're going to ignore every other red flag, or you're not going to ask questions to dive deeper and have a better understanding of the candidate. So be aware that that's a mistake that managers often make. They fail to check the references. Now, I'm going to really kind of harp on this one because it's a pain in the neck and I don't like doing it. No one likes doing it, but it needs to be done. They don't check them themselves. It can be challenging, right? You have to chase down former managers and ask questions, and there's do's and don'ts. But and you're busy. So oftentimes you kind of rely on HR or somebody else to handle that for you. I would say that connecting with previous employers is important. You should do that. Definitely document it. Sometimes you miss, if you have somebody else do it, even if it's being done, you miss the nuances of what they're saying. Sometimes good questions need to be asked to gain an understanding of their previous work and performance. If they put something on the resume, you want to document that they actually did that. And you can kind of read between the lines on some of the answers. I know you have to stay within the law. Talk to the HR department about the rules. I'm just telling you that one of the most important things you should do is check the reference. So don't get hung up in that mistake. They fail to use an assessment. I've talked ad nauseum about the objective management assessment, and I'm a big believer in it. But if you don't use the tools that are available to you, it's really hard to identify the right candidate. Our assessment pushes you into doing some things that you really need to do, like profile. And we're going to talk about that. I want to know, do they have the skill sets, the DNA, et cetera, or any shortcomings? Maybe they are not worth an interview, and I just wasted all my time. Our assessment puts you in a position where you don't have to interview candidates who don't measure up. That's a colossal waste of time, and you can move on from that. And this one people get on me about, but I think that when you have too few candidates, you make a mistake. And I'll tell you why they have too few candidates. This is where the mistake comes in. They don't recruit. They have no process for developing candidates or recruiting candidates, and they settle. So if you only have 2 people to choose from, and you're not interested in getting the best, or you just want to solve the problem, you're going to settle for a candidate. And that's a big mistake. I see a lot of that when there are too few candidates. Be patient, develop a process for recruiting, and fill the pipeline. It's worth it. They fail to ask the right questions. So I've talked about this a little bit in part 1, but I think it's worth really kind of taking a deeper dive. And I sort of danced around it with some other, or it really can be in a lot of these problems, that mistakes that managers make. But I wanted to give it its own sort of oomph because I think it's important. Questioning skills in sales is one thing. Questioning skills in an interview is the other. So I talked about asking the tough questions and digging deeper in the last podcast. How about the right questions instead of the silly sort of basic questions that everybody asks candidates? Tell me, are you, how organized are you? Everybody tells you how organized they are. Prove it to me. How am I supposed to believe you? You built this program, yes, and you had this amount of success, yes. What was the program like before you took it over? They're going to give you some generic answer. Okay, so start from the beginning and tell me exactly how you built the program from step one. And in between every breath, you're asking a deeper question. Tell me more about that. How did you reconcile that? What was the biggest problem you ran into? Tell me the top challenges. What proved to be easier than you thought it would be? I mean, there's 1,000 questions you could ask, but you don't ask them because you're trying to get through the basic interview, take a pulse and move on. I think it's worth a couple of hours to spend with a candidate to figure out if they're the right person. I've had managers look at me like I'm crazy. 2 hours? Who has 2 hours? Someone who knows the value of a high-quality sales team and hiring a high-quality rep. That's who. So you should ask the right questions. Oftentimes, I see managers look for themselves in candidates. And I've done, again, podcasts on this too. They look and act like me. I should hire them. They have a similar history. Oh, your background, blue collar. Just like me, grew up blue collar family, hard work ethic. Preached education and work in my family. What that creates is a narrow view of the world. You're not open to the possibility that somebody else could be successful outside of yourself. I don't care if someone came from a poor family or a wealthy family, where they're from, as long as they can sell. As long as their history matches what they tell me and it shows a pattern of success. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for me. I don't know that I could take another me, to be honest. Next, they allow interruptions. They're so important. They bring you in their office for an interview, and they accept phone calls or emails. They're looking at their laptop. Sales reps walk in. Administrators walk in, et cetera, et cetera. I worked in a company like that, and it's horrible. People get irritated with you when you close your door and say, don't interrupt me, and you turn everything off. It's part of the culture. It's a very bad part of the culture. I know you have a lot on your plate, but you need to take the time, put it aside, and treat them as important as you want to be treated. It's a huge mistake to allow those types of interruptions. Next, they use the tool as a crutch. So the flip side of that is they use a tool like the assessment, and they think that answers all the questions. Oh, look at this. I have a great candidate to come back. Look at all this great stuff. I'm going to hire them. And then they miss everything else. I don't know with the assessment if they're a fit for your company, if you can work with them, if they work in your company culture. I don't know that. You need to figure that out. I don't know if they're lying on their resume. They may have all the skills in the world. The DNA may be strong, the will, the grit, everything. But they may have lied on their resume. I don't know that. You need to ask those questions. It is a tool, not the answer. So they go real light on the interview, and they look to the tool to answer the question for them. That's a lazy person's way out of doing this. Big mistake. I've seen it happen 1,000 times. Okay, episode 180. Again, free candidate assessment trial. So go to alignment-group.com/the-funnel. Click on episode 180. Go to the bottom of the page there and click show notes. Click on the image that says free candidate assessment trial. Follow the link, fill out the form, and you'll get a link to send a potential candidate to try the Objective Management Group assessment. Love that assessment. And as an added bonus, come back to the website after you get the results. Send me an email, and I'll give you all my contact information at the end of the podcast, and I will help you understand the results. We'll talk about the potential candidate, give you some tips on hiring a new sales rep. The next mistake they make is onboarding. You're going to say, well, that's not part of the interview process. Yes, it is. When you tell someone about the job and what they can expect, you tell them what they can expect first day and how they're going to be trained and developed and coached. And if you don't have an onboarding program, you're pretty much lying to them. I know someone who went to a very reputable, large company, an American staple, and they just threw him to the wolves. He had to figure it out all by himself. It's insane. 6 months to get up and running. Why? Because there was no onboarding program, no support structure. Figure it out for yourself. I did it. You can do it. Meanwhile, in the interview, they're telling you all these great things that the company can do for you. It doesn't match. A little odd, isn't it? Why doesn't it match? Makes no sense. Onboarding is important. Don't lie to the candidate. Build an onboarding program, and then live up to that. They fail to understand the need. Right? They know they need to hire somebody. They're excited about hiring somebody, but they haven't really laid out the profile. They haven't defined the role specific enough for their sales environment. They don't really know what they want. Do I need a hunter? Do I need a farmer? That's basic stuff, but you know what I mean. They don't consider the type of salesperson they need for their environment. Different sales environments require different skill sets. And oh, by the way, that can be within companies, depending on the job role you're filling. So if you're looking for a hunter, why would you hire a farmer, and vice versa? Maybe the role in this particular job is to go out and hunt for business, and all you're being fed is farmers. Understand what you're hiring for before you begin to look for somebody. So I rattled off these last 10 pretty quickly. They're easy to understand, easy mistakes. I don't want to spend a lot of time on things if I can get my point across pretty quickly. Thanks for subscribing to The Funnel, lyman-group.com/The Funnel. You can find us on Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn Radio. We're on social media, Facebook, Twitter handles @ShayJohnR, on LinkedIn, Google+. You can contact me, jshay@lyman-group.com. So if you go to the website and you do the trial candidate assessment and you get the results back, email me. I'll help you. jshay@lyman-group.com. I answer all my emails. I can answer you right away. It might take me a few hours or the next day, but I will get back to you. In the meantime, thanks for subscribing and keep filling the funnel.